Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Raybearer, chapters 5, 6, and 7. In these chapters, Tarisai meets Dayo, and then we get a little bit of a time jump, and she has refused to join his council. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
All right, so last chapter ended on a bit of a cliffhanger with kill, and then we opened to her wanting to strangle him. How did you feel about these chapters?
I love this. I am in love with this book already. Nice. It was really, really hard to stop reading after chapter 7.
Yeah.
There is something about the way that she writes that is, and this isn't going to make, I'm not going to be able to make this make sense, but there's something about the way that she writes that is really, really familiar to me. There is it's still very early in the book, obviously. Things might like ratchet up, but so far at least, there's something very easy about the way she writes. Like, I understand that there are high stakes, what we're doing, but it doesn't feel like she has her hands around my neck, if that makes any sense, you know? And I find her writing style just really beautiful and lyrical. I love the descriptions of the places and of the people, especially. I love the detailed descriptions of the people that she is encountering, and that she's making up like countries of origin and things like that, but you can tell that they're based on real sort of things. So as I'm picturing these characters that we're meeting, I'm like, oh, you know, he's, you know, Southeast Asian, or, oh, he's East Asian, or, oh, she's from the North, you know, or whatever. And it's just really like immersive, you know?
Yeah.
I just really, really enjoying it. And the jump was so like easygoing. Like,
she's like mid-sentence when she's like, and before I knew it, years had passed, and I was like,
what? You know, and it was so strange because sometimes when you get a time jump, especially mid-sentence like that, it can be very, very jarring. And oftentimes my gut reaction will be, what the fuck did I miss? You know? And I didn't have that sort of anxiety of, oh, I've missed a bunch of shit when this happened. It just felt like, yeah, this is how you tell the story.
Yeah.
You know? I love, too, that it just picks up right with, like, those very, very intense, like, I have to kill this motherfucker, right? And her battle and how freaked out she is when these feelings, you know, rush up. And then as they kind of subside a little bit, you know, and they calm down and she's like back in control. And then we find out with this time jump that she has not tried the sort of Vulcan mind meld since this, and that is what has kept her from being anointed all this time, is that she hasn't allowed that test to happen again.
Right.
And as readers, we understand, at least initially, it feels very much like if she can keep that from happening, keep the anointing from happening, then she can keep the kill at bay. You know, so this is her trying to navigate that.
Yeah.
But that she is still here and is still a candidate like part of me is just like, well, girl, how long you think you can pull this off? Like, how
That's
long
the
can you just
question.
be a candidate before eventually they're just like, well, shit, you got to go and somebody else is going to take your place. But then I found out that, what's his name? Is it Dajit?
Oh,
Bear? The bear?
Yeah, Sanjeet.
Is it Sanjeet?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because he's from someplace that starts with a D. He's from like
Dharma.
So we find out that he is also still there,
Mhm.
and has like refused the anointing as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, if he can still be there, then our girl can still be there. But yeah, I really, really like this.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start off chapter 5. I want him to wring his neck. And she's thinking about all of the ways to kill him. And she is just like, what in the fuck? And realizes when he anoints you as his own is part of the key phrase. And so that's not happening. And she can relax for right now. But nevertheless, the impulse is so strong that it completely unmoors her in the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. She's just like overcome with it, which is it's got to be terrifying. You know, this impulse that is in you that you don't really have control over, that you didn't put there, that it just riles up out of nowhere and takes over you, and the idea that could, you know, jump out at any moment. And you don't even get a say. Yeah. You know, it's sort of like you're programmed to do this task, and you didn't get a vote. You didn't even get the consent to it. You know, it's like a what do you call them? Sleeper agents or whatever. Oh yeah, you know, when you see like, you know, in
their activating phrase.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, this is the scene here too. I really love this. So she's meeting Dayo, aka just Dayo, and this kid is just a sweetie pie.
How can you not love him? I already love him.
And what she keeps doing in these chapters is trying to figure out why her mother would want this kid dead, because she figures there's got to be a reason.
Maybe he's a monster. Maybe he's part demon. You know, like my mother wouldn't just want me to kill an innocent, beautiful, lovely young man like this guy, right? So there's got to be something there, because otherwise, that means my mother's the monster. Yep. You know, and nobody wants that, she said.
And they have a very different reaction to touch. So he's standing there waiting for her to try and touch him. And she's not doing that. And then he reaches out to touch her, and she is really caught off guard, because usually people try to avoid touching her. Yeah. And we find out that basically everybody has been sort of prepped to come in acting like they already love him and trying to touch him and connect with him in a very like false way. Yeah. That's super forced. And she isn't doing that, and straight up is like, I don't love you. I just met you. I don't know you. And he's really caught off guard.
And of course that is like so attractive to him, because of course it would be, right? If just an endless line of supplicants showing up every day, and they're all fawning over you and saying all the words. And it's got to be like monotonous and repetitive, and you don't even take it seriously. Yeah. And then here comes this young girl who is doing the opposite of everything else, of everyone else. And of course, he's got to be like, well, what's your deal?
What's her deal? Yes, exactly.
Dayo is such a genuine cinnamon roll. Patrick, yes.
Yeah, he really is.
I love this little boy. And I felt bad, because I'm just like, it's so early in the book. I'm like,
I know, right?
Because we find out, I think it's in chapter 7, when she asked the question. Because I had been thinking about this, and I meant to mention it last week, but I didn't. This system of Aristar and the aristocracy and their emperors, it's made fairly clear in the first chapters, but it's just men. It's men. It's patriarchy, right? It's a patriarchal society, and I think they just talk about how it's always emperors and always princes. Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, oh, it's always got to be a dude, and I'm wondering like what that has got to be part of what happened with the lady that I figure we'll find out at some point later on, right? But then when it comes up later in these chapters, and she is like, well, what if it's a what if Raybearer's a girl? And then the high priest is like,
that does not happen.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get there. So in this scene with Dayo, the other thing I really love is she tries to scare him away from her by saying that she's part demon and she can steal memories. And instead of being like, what the fuck, his reaction is, that's amazing. Do it. Do me now. And he like touches her and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, no, come on. I want to see you do it. And is just really psyched and very interested. And she gets flooded with all of these memories of all of the supplicants, just everybody falling all over themselves to pretend that they care. And she has to pull out of it because there's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when she does, he's looking at her in this way. And part of what she saw was him getting attached to people and trying these tests, and they fail. And those folks are pulled away. And he just goes into this like area and cries by himself.
And for her, she's just like, I get that. Because that's her whole life.
Yep.
It's people coming and going and coming and going. And then the person she wants to see the most, which is the lady, her mom, hardly ever showing up.
Yep.
You know, and it's this constant abandonment and yearning. And they have that connection. When I read that bit, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I was like, well, these two are just going to, this is it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The feeling for both of them of like, we'll have a family that is forced to stay, that we find out later, there is a thing called council sickness, where once they are connected mentally, if they're away from one another for too long, they can go mad because it makes you literally ill. So that's why nobody ever like, does a treason.
Yeah.
Because
there's a couple of things we find out about the council in these chapters. We find out about the sickness, which wild. We find out the details about how the mortality works. We get the 13 ways you can die. And we find out that the council... I don't know, you guys. This really made me laugh. I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but it made me laugh. So the council is sort of forbidden to have relationships.
Right. Yes.
Right? You cannot get married. You can't have any attachments because your whole jam is the council. It's very Jedi-ish,
Yeah.
However, the ladies of the council... if you're lucky, you might bear a prince. If you keep keep your I's dotted and
T's
crossed, you might get lucky enough to give birth to the next prince. But there's no like marriage. There's not like the emperor is going to pick a queen. There's not going to be an empress. There's none of that.
Right.
And when Dayo talks about his mom, he says, "Oh, he knows who she is," but still calls her auntie.
Yeah.
Just like
because he's not supposed
else.
to show favoritism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, we met her, and I can't remember.
Nawusi?
Nawusi, I think.
I feel like that's it. Yeah.
Is who was basically like, that's going to be the mom, because when she was introduced, we talked about her features kind of favoring, and she had a sort of extra energy, around the kid. But this council thing is fascinating.
It's really wild, right? And I also think like the whole thing with, there's the Ray is always with a man, and you may like women may never get the Ray, but as council members, you still have value because you may bear someone with the Ray. And I'm like, yeah, and then what? You don't even get real credit for that because he's not allowed to give you favoritism.
It doesn't elevate your station in any way.
And I'm like, probably like in reality, it does a little in terms of his like personal feelings toward you being the mother of his child in a way that's sort of unavoidable. But like, in terms of the elevation or ambition of an individual, it's not really going to do very much.
I feel like the best it can do is maybe like when you're having an inter-council kind of conversation, you might be able to flex a little bit. Like, y'all know who I am though. So, you know what I mean? But nothing substantial that you can then go out on your own with.
Yeah.
You know, this, and again, I hate to jump ahead, but it was just so fascinating. This idea of the 13 ways you can die, because like I'm paying attention to all the numbers. The numbers are important, right? So
isn't it 12 ways that you can die though?
It's 13 ways you can die.
Okay.
It's 11 council plus the prince, who is born with one immunity.
Right. Okay,
So the prince is born with an immunity. You have 11 council members, so that's 12 immunities. There's one immunity that they don't have, and that is simply old age.
Right.
And that is supposed to be pretty much the only way they can die, unless there's a traitor or something.
Right. Thank you.
But yeah, I was just like, get the fuck out of here. Come on, y'all.
It's pretty cool, right?
It's really, really neat. And I can't rember the listings of the mortalities, but
we'll go through it.
You know, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But
I really like that one of them is like witches' curses. It's like, way to cover your bases. All right, fair.
Because you just never know, right? So you want to just make sure you're protected against that shit. All right, but circling back to chapter 5, though.
So yeah, the two of them are really connecting here, and him being just like, you're going to leave, aren't you? You're going to be another one. And he tries the ray on her.
Yeah.
And it causes this splitting headache, and immediately her body like rejects it.
Yeah.
And Mbali, who's waiting in the wings because she says you're being watched, comes in to scoop her up and take her away.
Because this is he tried the connection, which is like one of the ultimate tests. Tries it early. She fails. Tarisai fails, according to Mbali anyway. Like, you know, the connection doesn't work. She fails. And she's about to like take her out. You're done. Sorry, you failed the test. Like, you weren't supposed to get the test at this moment, but he did it and you failed it. So
it's so annoying because like Dayo is desperate to keep her, but he does it so early that of course she's gonna fail. Like, what are you doing, baby?
And then we have this wonderful moment where she's just like, Tarisai is just like, wait a minute. A whole minute ago, you just told me in front of everybody that the law of the land is the prince. And my loyalty to him supersedes everything. So you can't tell me to go. Only he can tell me to go. And it's one of those, moments.
Mbali is like, okay, so literally nobody has played this card.
I can't believe no one else has ever played that card.
I mean, if you have it very heavily ingrained in you to respect authority, I'm not sure I would have thought of it.
She says, she says that Tarisai followed directions. She paid attention to the instructions.
And Tarisai is like, oh, instructions, taking instructions. I don't love that I'm really good at that. Because there's a whole other set of instructions I've been given. So yeah, he like, because of this, he wants her to stay. But then Mbali says if she succeeds in this and other trials, you may anoint her. And so Tarisai goes from being really excited that she can stay to really freaked out because that's the thing that she doesn't want to happen.
That when he anoints you as his own is just like, again, like the trigger for her. Every time she hears that, she starts to spin out a little bit.
Yeah.
Which this is
right.
Because like part of me, because it's so early in the story, you know, I don't know if the whole story is going to be her fighting this thing that's planted in her that she didn't get a choice in, or if eventually, like, because we see her like trying to see if Dayo is a monster or whatever, and if eventually she understands why the lady did this to her and then decides she wants to follow through with it. I really have no idea. I don't know if the story is going to be her fighting this and then and succeeding to like squash this curse or this command and having her own agency over it, or if it's going to be her coming to an understanding of why her mother did this and then following through with it. I have no idea which way it's going to go.
Questions. So yeah, then they're left alone again. And Dayo shows her this like vial of oil from a pelican's wing. And that's what he uses to anoint her. And she flips out and says no. And he's like, if that's what you want, I can't force you. And he's like really bummed. Yeah. And then as she's continuing to like push against this impulse, she disappears into like a mental, like a vision, basically. And Melu is there and he's like, look, I know this sucks. I really do. But you gotta do what you're told, man. And once you do, we'll both be free of this. Yeah. And she's just like, I don't have a master. And he says, yes, you do. Yeah.
This and as this is happening for her, she's like, verbalizing like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. And Dayo is like, what? You know?
Yeah, he thinks that she's just like, I don't want to be one of your anointed. And it's just really hurting this kid's feelings. And when she like kind of comes back to herself, he's like, you look like you were having a seizure and my mom would have said you were possessed. So.
And meanwhile, inside, she's got to be like, oh, that is so close to what is actually happening.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not him that says that. It's Kira, because Kira is there when she wakes up. Kira says, my mom would have said you had a fever.
Right. Yeah, because we don't realize it, but she like passes out from this. And then in the next chapter, hours have passed. And and then, wow, at some point, and I can't remember when exactly, is it 6 or 7, but someone, is it when they're telling the mythology of the sky and the earth and the water and the fire, and someone is like the guardian of the area is like missing or trapped or something, and she realizes that's
Melu.
You guys, come on. It's like only 6 chapters, 7 chapters in the book already.
There's a lot happening.
I am wide open. That's all I can say.
This is the thing that I really appreciated about this book is world building is so hard. And world building in such a way that it doesn't feel so sprawling that it's out of control is really tricky. But also world building so that it doesn't feel like everything is only figured out in as far as the author needs it to be right now is the only thing that's done, and that otherwise they're just sort of making it up as they go along. That's all. Like, it's really hard to balance going way too far with it or not going far enough, and the seams sort of showing. Right. And I feel like she does a really good job of knowing exactly where she wants to be with everything, and she keeps it small enough that it's manageable, but it's like the suggestion of the whole world feels very real.
Agreed. I when they are watching the story of the creation, and again, I wish I could give you guys like reasons or details or whatever, and I can't. But when I talk about how familiar this all feels, it just does. And like when she's telling the story, about creation, and I'm reading it, and I haven't read it before, and I haven't read that specific type of creationism, but it felt familiar in like 2 ways. It felt familiar in sort of like a folklore way, where I feel like maybe I got a sense of this in some other kind of stories maybe I read when I was younger or whatever. Okay. But then also it's on such a broad scale, where when you talk about, like, you think about like the sky and the earth and water, like these are like grand concepts. It's really easy to understand, right? So you're just like, oh yeah, that kind of tracks. And then it brought the pelican in, and I was like, we just talked about the pelican.
So excitable.
So it just, I don't know. I'm here for it. I really am.
So when we start chapter 6, Kira is here. I love Tarisai drinks some mango juice that has ice in it.
It has ice in it!
And it just like all slides and almost hits her in the face. And she's like, what the fuck? Tarisai, that is the experience of having ice in a drink. And I am sorry. This is why I only use these fucking Starbucks tumblers with the lids, because I am sick and tired of having my whole face tackled by ice that has been stuck in the bottom of a cup, and all together is just like, charge!
It is such a wonderful detail that didn't necessarily need to be included, but I am so tickled that it was, because, yeah, not everybody has ice cubes.
Yep.
And they talk about like how like these are from the Nantes, I think it's called, like, which is we talked about, like, it's like the northern region of this world, right? It's where the white folks are.
It's whiteies.
But just and then Kira's like, yeah, they say they think maybe it helps keep meat longer, like fresher longer.
Yeah, that's the context that she knows it from. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of weird, right?
Love that.
They import it. I always think about this. This is something that you know, the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, like Little House on the Prairie and stuff. There's one of them which was always my favorite is Farmer Boy, and it's about Almanzo, the guy that she eventually wound up marrying, and his childhood, because she was somebody who traveled a lot with her family and set up a homestead, and then they'd move somewhere else. But Almanzo grew up on a farm and stayed put, and they farmed the land and had livestock and everything. And so it was a really different life. So she wrote a whole book about his experience because it's so different. And there is this section in the winter where they have this huge lake near them, and they build this big shed that they fill with like sawdust, and then they cut blocks of ice out of the lake and bring it to the shed and put them in there, packed with like sawdust and hay, and that ice stays there all summer. It's available to use from the winter time throughout the summer. And I am fascinated by the idea that just stayed. But apparently it was like a lot of ice. Like it was several days work to put the ice away, kind of thing. And so I guess it just sort of insulated itself against the outside. But the idea of like importing ice, like how messy a job is that? And you start off with this like amount of product, and you know it's going to be like at least a third gone by the time, at least, you know.
It's at the end of the day, but you start off with this giant, block, this glacier, and then you get to your destination, and it's like, 3 weeks worth of ice.
Yeah. I don't know, the whole concept of like the packing and storing of ice before we had any sort of refrigeration. Yeah. I just find it like anxiety inducing to think about.
It is so funny to me too, that like it is not within my lifetime, but within my parents' lifetime. Like my mom is old enough to remember the guide, like the ice delivery guy.
Delivered. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Like it wasn't that long ago that like a giant truck would pull down your driveway and be like, here's your ice for the week, for your ice box, because it's just a cabinet that you put a giant block of ice in. It's not a refrigerator. It wasn't that long ago.
Literal by ice box.
Yep.
Wow.
It's like, I know I'm old, so maybe not you guys as parents, but my parents.
I think my mom had an ice box when she was a kid, but that's mostly because they were impoverished and living in like a shed.
Poverty, old. It's
you could be a wizard like Harry Dresden, who has an ice box instead of a regular refrigerator.
Right. When is any word on that? No, nope. I don't want to distract us from that.
Nope.
I was thinking about that the other day. Like it popped in my head. Like
it's gonna be a minute.
I'm ready for the next book. Like she should be sending me a book any day now. Where's my next Dresden book? And then it really went like that. Like Tosh hasn't sent me a Dresden book. What the fuck is the holdup? And then be like, oh wait, bitch, you caught up. There is no book. Yeah.
That's funny.
It was like Tuesday or Wednesday this week it happened to me. Because we finished Ted Lasso, and I know we're doing this, but in my mind I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do Ted Lasso and then go back to Dresden.
I have that happen with a lot of things that I cover. I'll lose track of the fact that it's like either over or on hiatus, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. No, there isn't, sir. Mind your business.
Do you hit him all up in our shit?
What triggered that?
He said, I didn't get that. Could you try again? Mind your business.
Ma'am, get control of your devices. I insist. Christ's sake. It's fucking
You
anarchy
are
over there.
Embarrassing me in front of my friends.
Anyway, okay, so Tarisai is recovering, and Kira has been taught that it's not a good idea to leave people who are ill by themselves. So she's foregoing this like test.
I love how nurturing and what a caretaker Kira is.
Yeah.
It just seems to be her jam. Like no one had to tell her to do this. She was just like, no, this is what you do.
Yeah.
I love her the most already.
She's delightful.
It's so soon. I'm already loving these characters. They might betray me. I'll be heartbroken, but I love her. The bear. I love the bear. I love him already so much. Guys, and it's only 2 people. There's going to be 11 people on the council, so there's going to be more people.
Well, and then there's Dayo, who's a third person.
But what is this people I hate? There might be 1 or 2 to get on the council that I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's the thing that I always think about. It's like you're linked forever, and what if one of them is just like, you know, and if you're mentally linked, like how sensitive is that link? Because you can't even just like talk shit about somebody because they're gonna hear everything you're saying. That sucks.
This council and the way they're linked is so fascinating. Everything you just said, the idea that this is a lifelong commitment and you are forsaking all other attachments. Like this is it, right? How toxic that must get over the course of a lifetime. You know, it can't be pretty all the time. There's gotta be beefs and like sort of power struggles, you know, that happen within the little microcosm or whatever. And
I'm going to remind you of something. You know, there's the whole thing about how you're not allowed to have, especially like as a woman, you're not allowed to have a relationship with any of the other men in the council. But one of the memories that Tarisai picked up from Mbali was her hooking up with one of the other council members.
Yep.
And she doesn't like think about that in this section, but I was very aware of it when we hear that. And I was like, Tarisai, do you not recall that you saw somebody apparently like breaking this incredibly important rule?
I suspect that's a rule that gets broken all the time.
So it's like an on paper rule, but everybody knows that in practice it's just like, come on.
I think so. I mean, I don't have anything to base that on, but like you know, my reflex, I think that that's probably something that happens all the time. And I'm really curious to discover how they manage that. Is it always just denial? Like, well, we just won't talk about it. Nobody talk about it and it's fine. Or does it really cause like a kerfuffle and has to be dealt with? You know what I mean? I'm really, really curious about that. Because if all you have are each other for the entirety of your life, that's it.
How do you not develop? And especially when like they're always touching and kissing because of their connection and this like, you know, and what, that just never leads to anything ever? You know? Like, okay.
Like, I guess in theory you could, I don't know. Maybe in theory as a council member you could have, it says you can't have carnal relationships with other people on the council is what it says. It doesn't say at all. So like maybe you could have like a side John, you know, and that's supposed to be sort of your outlet. But if I have this deep soul mental connection to the point where I get sick if I'm not with these people, my side joint isn't going to be satisfying.
Right.
I want that with the people I connect with, you know? That's going to be what you want to go for. That has got to be a problem over the generations.
One would think.
I think so.
And then there's a whole aspect of like, what if a woman gets knocked up, but that kid's not going to have a Ray because she didn't get knocked up by the king, who is the one who's passing it down.
I didn't even think of that.
You know, that's the main thing.
Oh, a council member gets knocked up by a side joint, and now she can't bear a Raybearer because she's carrying somebody else's non-Ray-bearing kid.
I know, like, I believe you about it just saying you can't have carnal relations with other members, but I think it's just nobody.
Was it nobody?
I
We'll
think
get to it in a
so.
second. They'll say explicitly.
Yeah.
We'll see it.
But yeah, this is when we find out about the council sickness, and Kira says, if you succeed at uniting minds with the prince, you're sure to be one of his 11, unless you're him. And then she points at this shadow, and there is a kid that's like hunched over, and he is really big. When Tarisai first catches a glimpse of him, she thinks he's a full-grown man.
She says, what is a man doing in here? I love, too, there's this quick line right before that when Kira is talking about trying to explain some stuff to Tarisai, and she says, she thinks to herself, maybe all love was a bit like council sickness. You guys.
That's true. My God. I didn't really think about that, but...
Right?
Yeah, rude.
Fuck. Like, who asked for that? Quick sidebar about rude shit. Oil of Olay.
This is not what I'm expecting. Okay.
They tweeted out, if you remember calling us Oil of Olay, it's time for Retinol 24. And that is how I discovered that apparently back in 1999, they changed the name from Oil of Olay to just Olay.
Olay! I don't know, it's a weird choice to me, but I guess it's fine.
It's a really weird backstory, too, because apparently it's like a German weird thing. It was like a merger between two different companies.
Okay.
And they opted, like their compromise was just to call it Olay.
Okay.
But I have still been calling it Oil of Olay. I was in the drugstore not 2 days ago asking a young man where the Oil of Olay was.
Oh, God.
So I saw that tweet.
Got you right between the eyes.
Bitch! I didn't ask for that.
I love how you're like, speaking of rude, and then you bring up something completely, I'm thinking it's going to be about love.
No.
Connection. Nope.
That shit was rude. And it didn't say you still call it. It says if you remember calling it.
Right.
Which was doubly rude.
Yep.
Because I didn't remember calling it. I still called it. Fucking rude.
All right. So he's not a man. He's just big. I heard he's only 13. And she says that he scares her. And when Tarisai is like, is he mean? Kira at first, Mama says it's unholy to gossip. She says Mama says a whole lot.
I love her.
But they say he's killed people, a pit fighter. And
the Mama said it's like a disclaimer for her. So that she can't, I'm not really doing this bad thing that Mom says is a bad thing.
And then it turns out the Ray worked immediately. But he is still refusing to be anointed, and both of them are wondering why he said no. Yeah. And Kira's assumption, he thinks he's too good for us, probably. That's what kids from rich realms are like,
That's so wild.
And then she says, not all of them. I guess you're different. And Tarisai's like, I'm not rich. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. And this is where we find out about Swana.
We find out Kira's idea of Swana, what the word on the street is, which is because there's another word on the street about another realm too that has got like roads of coin. It's like
right,
the sort of like
paved with gold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I really appreciated this too because we find out later, I guess in chapter 7, that both Tarisai and the bear are the people who, because what it is, and they reminded us in these chapters, the council people have to come from the realms. You have to have one representative, right? So once, like, Kira, for instance, is anointed, everybody from her area goes home. The job is filled, right? So the bear and Tarisai are cock blocking everybody else. Like they're not anointed, but no one else can move forward because they're in the fucking way.
Yeah, he because the Ray worked immediately, and her because she's so clearly Dayo's favorite, and everybody knows it, and it's making her quite unpopular with the people from her neighborhood. So yeah. And she says, don't worry about the bear. We've chained him to the bedpost. And Tarisai is like, what? And Kira says, it was a joke. The other kid started it. He's the princess bear, and bears are baited, so my brow knit doesn't seem very funny to him. He could have stopped us if he wanted to. Besides, Mama says Dermish people are like rabid dogs. I'm not going near him. And I was like, Kira, girl.
I don't know how important it is to put like real world like places on people. Oh, he's from here, he's from there. But, you know, it sounds, again, like I said earlier, very clearly that he's sort of like Southeast Asian, Indian, Pakistani, something, right? With the name and the area that he's from and the description of, you know, what he looks like and his skin tone and all that. And this idea that he is like dangerous and also like somehow less deserving of respect and consideration and trust just because of where he's from.
Yeah.
Made me sad. And it's weird to be sad about it because I had apparently subconsciously made some assumptions that this was like sort of like
a unified world.
Everybody's fair and equal, and it doesn't matter where you come from. We're all just people. You know what I mean? And there's no like elitism and no classism and no weird presumptions and quite frankly, like, I don't know if racism is the right word, but like prejudices against different regions, right?
Xenophobia, perhaps.
Xenophobia is a good word. So when that snuck in, I was like, oh. Damn it.
Yep, I feel you.
But there it was. And I mean, it's realistic to be there. But I was just like, oh, shit.
So this is when Kira leaves. And at first, Tarisai is like, I'm just going to chill here and not draw attention to myself. But she has to pee really bad.
Girl, same.
And she's been out for a couple hours, you know. And so she gets up and she finally has to ask him where they keep the chamber pots. I'm thinking she's going to be like, where's the bathroom? I'm still like in a different universe in my head, right? Where's the privy, my lord? And he tells her they're piled up in this like corner here. And she asks for a privy screen. And he is like, that they don't do that here.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
But he says, I won't look.
Yes. I just like, the idea of just like squatting down right there in the room. And then he's like, they come and collect them at the end of the day. So it just fucking sits there. Really?
So make sure you put it in the collection area.
Yeah.
Like, put it back up where it goes.
Like the whole room is going to stank if you have to do a number two. If more than one person does a number two, God help us. Like,
it didn't even occur to me about the second. I just assumed, I can't even say it.
You just assumed that they vanished it with their wands.
I just assumed
the Hogwarts originals.
We're only talking about like a liquid, you know, sort of evacuation. It didn't even occur to me to think of anything else because my mind does not work like that because it doesn't want to.
That's fair. I always think about the logistics. You know me. And I'm just like, what do these chamber pots come with built-in toilet paper rolls? Because what are we doing about that, ladies and gentlemen?
I mean, I didn't hear any questions about how to like clean up afterwards. So again, I'm assuming it must just be a liquid sort of situation. Oh, I'm so upset now.
I'm sorry. So then don't worry, I won't look. I did the deed as quickly as possible. And then she's hungry and says, where can I find food? I wouldn't know. I missed dinner hours ago. And she just says,
my servants tied me up one time like that too. Just blurts it out because she's grown up alone with a bunch of tutors and people who don't treat her like a human being. And so her social skills are a little
questionable.
A little questionable, right? She just, I love this for her. She just blurts it out. And it makes him notice her. Like, it makes him stop, turn around, and like really be like, oh, you're a person talking to me. What do you have to say?
Yeah, she's talking to him in a way that's not about her needing something. Yeah. She's just connecting with him about what he's going through right now.
Yep.
A startlingly young face flickered in the candlelight with a heavy jawline, reddish-brown skin, and steeply slanted eyebrows. His ears stuck out, as though he'd yet to grow into them, that the idea of him growing more was hard to imagine.
I love that. I love the idea that he's so big right now, you can't even imagine that he would get bigger, and then we find out later that of course it happens. He is struck by her hollow.
Yeah.
Stealing memories.
And she's like, I'm going to show off a little bit. And she touches the stone and she feels a memory of the emperor.
Yeah.
Who's dreaming and whispering, the lady.
Yeah.
And honestly, can I just say, when everybody just knows you as the lady, that is some wild shit. Like,
you're doing something right.
What are you doing?
Like, I feel like I need to reassess all my shit.
There's just... What, should I go change my Facebook profile pic? Like, and my name to just first name V, last name Lady? Like,
it made me feel like I have been very, like, way too transparent about my whole shit. Like, I need more mystery. I need more, like, I've answered too many questions. I've been too open. You know, people know my whole name. People out here just call her the lady. Like, I'm just like, oh shit, she's right.
I bet that's going to be like the next thing in influencers is like everybody just mines their entire life experience for content. And now we're going to turn a corner and it's going to be all about personas that are completely fabricated.
Ooh,
and I mean, a lot of it is completely fabricated. Don't get me wrong. But you know what I mean? Like,
but it's fabricated with
there's
a
an illusion
veneer.
Of personal. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, we should talk about that. we should talk about like branding ourselves going forward much more mysterious than we've been in the past.
We should start a second podcast and use voice modulators so nobody knows it's us.
Absolutely. Because like, I mean, I am not as open as you are, but I've been doing this long enough that enough of my shit has filtered out. So now I feel like all my shit's out there at this point. So yeah, we should.
A lot of it's behind a paywall though.
Yeah. That's true.
I'm just saying.
I guess it is behind a paywall. I still feel like I talk entirely too much on these podcasts over the last 7 years or however long it's been. I'm just like, I have people that know my first and last name. I fucked up.
It's making me think of Sam on The Circle just being like, I took a shit in somebody's bathtub and then I laid in it and then I made poop angels. And I'm like, girl, you are just saying this on the television? What are you doing?
How much fun was she to watch?
I fucking love her so much. Oh,
I can't. Tomorrow, you guys, we're going to do The Circle Front and Sober. So if you haven't watched it, fucking bang that shit out before tomorrow.
The Circle season 5 for $20 and up patrons live. We're talking about it.
So much fun.
This I can't get over how every season of The Circle they find out a new way to just make shit go crazy. They just are so creative with this.
I cannot believe that after all these seasons, they managed to have me on the edge of my seat.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was on the edge of my sofa yelling at the screen.
Yep.
I don't understand how they managed to do it. And it's a unique combination of picking the right people to be on the show, like picking the right personalities, and then tweaking the game every season, making little changes. I couldn't get over it. I really could not get over it. I wanted to text you so much the whole time I was watching it. So I'm so glad you finally watched it so you can text me back.
And I'm not going to say anything about who won it so that people who haven't gotten there will still be surprised. But let me tell you, it was a really there was some real highs and some real, what are you doing lows. So
the gameplay for me this season really had me on the edge of my seat.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it was a perfect combo of I'm going to be strategic and I'm going to think I'm being strategic. And I'm just playing with my heart on my sleeve. And everybody is aware of that.
Yep. Some of the moments of the interactions of the players to themselves, and you're watching it and you're like, I cannot believe they just said that to that person. I can't believe they just said that. it's astonishing to me how that show keeps raising the bar.
Yes.
I don't know what other reality shows are out there and what they're doing, but they're not doing what The Circle's doing.
No.
I don't even care what you say. They're not doing it.
All right. We got to get back to this.
Yep.
So let's see. The boy ran a hand through large, soft curls. When you take memories, could you take them for good? Could you make someone's memories disappear forever?
You guys.
Yeah.
He wants his horrible, traumatic memories
taken.
And don't we all? Like this young man, this little boy, we find out what his deal is that one, his halo, his gift is that he can see the weakness of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can tell where the bad needs are, where the knots are, where the weaknesses are. And his father has exploited this by making him basically like a pit fighter, you know, like a fight to the death kind of weirdness, you know. And his father sounds like a real fucking son of a bitch.
Yep.
I feel like the implication is also abuses the mother.
Yeah, because he's like,
right?
I'll teach you what I taught her last night if you don't fucking go in there at one point.
So this father uses the abuse of the mother to bully this child into these fighting pits for money and to use his gift to take advantage of people. And we also find out that there is, I'm assuming it's his mom. The word they use is ama.
Yeah. Yeah, that's his mom.
And she thinks that this gift could be used to heal people. You know, and that's what he should be doing. So he's got that, and he's got this horrible father who's making him fight for money. And he's just a baby. And he shows up, you know, as a candidate and has this reputation as being a killer because of what his father has done to him. And that's why these other kids are treating him like this and like chaining him to his bed and being afraid of him and treating him like he's a monster. And I cried a little.
It's super sad.
Just a little bit. But I did. I cried a little.
And this is the reason that he doesn't want to be anointed, is that if he is stuck here forever, he cannot save his mother from his father.
Yep.
And just the idea of this like literal child feeling like they have to save their parent is so heavy, you know, like.
I'm not even going to bore y'all with my shit, but yeah.
And he has trouble sleeping, so he like comes to her every night when we have like the time jump.
This baby has PTSD.
So he has her like take the memories eventually come back, but if she takes them for long enough, he can fall asleep. And eventually he asks for some of her memories, which she has never done before.
Love this.
Yeah. And she, of course, has to be really careful.
Well, yeah, because she can't like share all her shit.
Yeah.
But we find out that the more she shares her memories, like she can't get rid of his memories long enough. They always come back. But when she shares hers instead, like sort of like puts hers in his consciousness, whatever, that lasts longer.
Yes. Yep. By
She's
sharing,
like
they like
him.
Yeah, they help each other.
They're babies. And she's already, you guys, I'm going to cry so much on this book. I already know it. Because I've already cried a little bit and it's so early.
So, yeah. And she finds out, like, when she asks what his halo is, he says, now would be a good time for me to lie. And she looks at him. It just says, I don't think you'd be very good at lying. And he says, I'm not. And he just tells her all her weaknesses. And then it's just like, yeah, this is my deal. And let's see. Oh, right. And he calls her Sunshine Girl.
Yeah, he does.
Because
I love that.
he says something about how they're supposed to be like the moonlight. We shine as moonlight. We reflect the morning star. And she's like, moonlight is white and cold. I would way rather be sunshine. And he's like, all right, bet. That's your name now.
I love to, because I feel like eventually that's going to all come to be something, because Raybearer and Sunshine is very, very close.
That's fair. That's fair. So then, chapter 7, at Bikina House, there had been no rhythm to waiting. And we just get this impression of like these long, languid days without routine, and her just waiting for, you know, anything, and mostly for her mother. And eventually we jump ahead in time and we find out, like, because of how much is always going on in the palace, there is just constant forward movement that she doesn't notice in the way that she did. So when time passes here, it feels different than it did at Bikina House. Luis is over here foreshadowing with the eye emoji, because Luis is reading along. So Luis has stopped at chapter 7 with us. Who knows, Luis? Actually, I'm saying, oh no, it is Luis. Okay. I was like, I think I saw that name. It is there. So yeah, she's 15 at this point.
Yeah. And we get an idea of what like their day-to-day is. And it is, I love this bit about how it's been so long now that she's like accustomed to the routine and the drums that signal like the start of the day and what you're supposed to say. And they all know like the responses to the particular drum beats and what they mean. One means waking up, one means breakfast, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a bit where they all wake up and you say good morning, and then they ask you, why did you rise? And the answer is, well, because the storyteller granted me another day, which is, you know, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to figure yourself in some sort of Christian context or even other religious context, sort of like, oh, the great being has given me another day, whatever your great being is, right? You know? And then why did the storyteller allow you to live? Well, so I can serve the prince, because that's your whole fucking deal. Like, that's your whole reason to be. And this is like, we know that this is repetitive every morning. Every morning they wake up to this. And these are children, teenagers. So by the time Dayo is emperor, you have to imagine in the future, they have been doing this 10, 15, 20 years. How ingrained it must be.
Can you imagine what it is like to sit in a room surrounded by children who are forced to recite, because I love him more than life itself, like, in front of you every day?
It is so toxic, right? But I guess, like, if you're in it, it must feel right and natural, which is how that shit works, you know? Cultish.
Couldn't be me.
A little bit, Cloak, yeah.
Yeah, Cloak in the chat says that's cultish.
That's exactly right. And that they are training these children for years and years and years to do this. By the time these kids are adults, I don't even know how much they can think for themselves. Like, how much real, like, I don't know what the word is. But how much, like, real
affection?
No. The word is that I'm looking for is kind of like fuck, I can't think of the
You gotta
word.
help me out here.
I'm sorry. But like, if you have spent 10 years just repeating shit, then you can't, like, your ability to have actual, like, sort of discernment must be dampened.
Got you.
Because you're just saying the words over and over and over again, you know? There's no real, like, interrogation of what you're saying, you know, or thinking about what you're saying. You're just repeating it. So when you think about the council, on one hand, it sounds like really cool and all, like, you have these council members you're, like, linked to, and they're going to think clearly and you know, picture all the angles and have the best advice. But also, these are kids that were 10. You trained them until they were 17 to repeat the same shit over and over and over again. What can they really bring?
And
to the
literally,
table?
some of them are going to have been trained and then just go home. because somebody else is getting anointed, and they have been like
Yeah.
fed this line about how this is the whole point of you being here, and then you take that away and they just have to go on and like live their life now. That sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go home?
Mm-hmm.
How do you just go back to your life? Mm-hmm.
And Mbali, it says that she like says "good job, children," but she says it with a combination of like pride and sadness.
Mm-hmm. Almost everything with her, with Mbali, has like a hint of sadness to it, right? I don't know what that is exactly yet, but I'm keeping my eye on it.
And we find out Kira accepted the anointing, so she's a part of his council now. And Tarisai is like really bummed because if she doesn't get anointed, she'll never see Kira again. Like she can't go with her anywhere. There's
a weird sort of like jealousy feels like the word you want, but it doesn't feel 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Tarisai feels sort of almost like because Dayo at this point has at least 3 people who are anointed at this point. And there's like with Tarisai kind of like I should be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was one of them, but she's holding back, you know, for her own reasons, right?
Yeah.
So she's in this really weird position of wanting what they have, but knowing that she can't do it yet because she doesn't trust herself. She's afraid to like fulfill her mother's wish or whatever is going on with that. So she's looking at them kind of like, oh, well, shit. That could be me. But I don't know if it should be me. But also, each one of my friends that is anointed, they are like beyond me now.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of something I'm not a part of just yet.
Yeah.
And it will suck because if I have to go home, I'll never see them again. And I really like them. I can't believe she hasn't just thrown herself into just being anointed at this point.
You can't believe it. She's programmed to kill him if she does.
I mean, all right. Let me just like her as a young woman who has been so lonely her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I am stunned by her resolve not to give in to the impulse to just want to belong because she's been so lonely.
Gotcha.
You know? Like when you grow up alone and isolated and you feel a part of or separate from things, that impulse to just join in because you're tired of being alone can be so strong. So that she's resisted it all these years is really remarkable to me anyway.
No, I get you. Yeah. Yeah. So he asks her to come sit with him for breakfast, which he does every day. And he, as he does every day, asks her, do you love me now, Tarisai of Swana? And she says, of course not. Not when you've got every child prodigy from Swana plotting to murder me.
I love that.
We could send them all home tomorrow, you know. All you have to do is say
yes.
I love this. I had once towered over Dayo, but now he dwarfed me. He might have been imposing, if not for that gangly frame and those relentlessly naive black eyes. Dayo's dense, coily hair was flattened on one side from sleep. He probably wouldn't even notice until halfway through breakfast. And I love that detail. Like, he is just kind of a goober.
Yeah,
you know?
A little bit.
I love that. And when she says, I'm not ready to try the ray again, you know that. The only thing I know is that you belong. So then we have practice drills and whatnot. And she's thinking about how she's tried to see something evil in Dayo to figure out why the lady wants her to kill him. She has been waiting also for perhaps the lady to like contact her out of impatience and because maybe she's just forgotten about me.
Because a little bit it sounds like she was thinking, well, if I just keep like not doing the thing, the lady's going to get so pissed she's going to have to come and talk to me about it, and it doesn't work. But like valiant effort. Also, she's got the hots for Dachi a little bit.
Yo, she do.
Sanjeet.
Yeah, Sanjeet. I really enjoy that when they're talking about like carnal knowledge, and she just pictures like this muscular back with sweat, and she's just like, no, what? No, I'm fine. I'm not thinking about anything. But let me guess, you've developed a sudden appetite for wrestling, is what Kira says. It's like, girl.
They're out there practicing with their sparring spears and everything, and she catches Tarisai, and because she's not paying attention to anything, she's over there looking at him, and Kira's just like, "I'm gonna call your shit out because that's what friends do."
Sanjeet let his opponent scramble on top of him, then thrust a club-like thigh over the boy's shoulder. Before the boy could escape, Sanjeet had seized his own ankle, trapping the boy's neck and arm in a chokehold. It was over in seconds. That wasn't fair. His hallow exposed my weak spots. He should have told me where they were. If you don't know your own weaknesses, it will take less than a hallow to kill you in battle.
Okay, first of all, do you not know how hallows work?
Right?
You can't be mad at me.
Like,
and also, you're supposed to have your own. That's why you're here at the castle, right? Like, what's yours?
Yeah, this kid is like, what do you know of battle? You're a slum brat. I'm the son of a lord. And I'm like, that's backwards, baby. He's a slum brat. What does he know of battle? Probably a lot more than the son of a lord. What do you even mean? Like, also, he has a reputation as having killed people, so also, what do you mean? You just don't make any sense.
Unless you're Jaime Lannister, none of that makes
sense. Exactly. When an assassin comes at you in the night, will you be calling your parents? The candidate bristled. Dayo says, I don't know anything about battle either. You better throw me too, Jeet. I have more to learn than Kamal. And he just like breaks it up immediately, like calms this whole scene down.
Yep.
He is such a precious baby. I love him.
I don't know how much of, like, I have decided at this early point of the book to just give Dayo credit for just being that person, right? Who has the ability to like calm shit down, bring everybody down, keep things from getting out of control. But part of me is like, oh, well, he's the prince. And that probably has a lot to do with it as well. But I just am making a decision to be like, no, it's just how he is. Like, his whole energy just...
Yeah, I mean...
Because he's so, like, open and doesn't take himself very seriously, it doesn't seem like.
Not if he's sleeping on one side and then not combing his hair up before he goes out in public in the morning. Even glancing in the mirror. He does not take himself seriously.
So it feels like he has the ability to really bring, put people at ease. And like ratchet the tension down. And it's just like, hey, look at me, I'm a doofus. So you don't have to like be embarrassed about being a doofus yourself. Just look at me.
And like here, Sanjeet says, your weakness is that you always see the good in people. I'd rather have your weakness than my hallow. And earlier, when she first met Dayo, Tarisai is acting freaked out and wanting to go with Mbali as she leaves because she's feeling like she's supposed to kill him. And Mbali mistakes her fear and says, he won't bite. I don't even think he has any teeth.
Yeah.
And so the real vibe is like everybody who knows him best is just like, oh, he is just a doll, like straight up.
I wonder how much of that is, and I don't know if I'm supposed to know this or not, but how much of that is specific to Dayo and his personality, or because I don't know much about how like the Raybearer and the princes and all that. If that is just sort of how they are when they're young, and then they grow into the emperor that we meet. You know, like are they always just like young and wide-eyed and open to the world, and then time happens and they turn in?
Why
you know what I mean?
do they have to all have the same personalities?
Well, I think what I'm wondering is, I tend to think of children, whether it's like smart or not, based in reality or not. But like, I have a tendency to think of children as being like this, like very kind of like open, to like what's going on in the world, making friends, and we're doing a thing, and oh, you're cool. This is your hallow. Oh, this is whatever. And then as time goes on, ruling comes into play. You have to like start making decisions and like deciding what you're going to be as the emperor, and you change. So what I'm wondering is the current emperor, who would be Dayo's father, maybe he was like this as a child.
Maybe.
And then time happens, you make hard choices, you have to like turn into like the guy who's in charge, and you can't be just wide-eyed anymore.
My problem with this question though is that he's surrounded by kids of his own age, and none of them are like this.
None of them are like, what do you mean?
None of them are open-hearted, wide-eyed, naive types like Dayo is. So,
that's a good point.
Like you're talking as if like, oh, kids just start out this way, but nobody else here is this way.
Well, that's the thing though. Like there's a difference though, because like the kids who show up to be candidates, they are, from what I can tell, trained from day one to do this, which is very different from,
I don't know if that's
the prince.
true.
Aren't all these kids like having been like lectured and tutored and have hallows? And
does it sound like that was Sanjeet's case? Doesn't sound like it to me.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, you know what? Oh, I don't know, because Sanjeet has a hallow. His parents know he has a hallow, but it doesn't sound like they thought he would ever show up to maybe be one of the council members. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. You have a kid who has an hallow that could be a candidate, but you don't train them for that. You instead choose to throw them into fighting pits. Oh. Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
And the kid he's wrestling with is the son of a lord. So if you have a hallow, but you're the son of a lord, I imagine your situation is going to look real different than having a hallow and just being a street brat.
Right. I hadn't even thought about that. Oh, that makes me so sad.
I just blew her mind, guys. She's just sitting here
did.
staring.
You really did, because I had been thinking about, like, because some of the kids that we've met, we haven't met very many, but Tarisai and Kira, we know from those two at least that they had an expectation that this is where their life was going, right? Even though Tarisai didn't know this is where her life was going, she was being prepped for this. She was being prepared for this, right? So, and we know also that from Dayo's experience that the floodgates opened and these kids came from everywhere and they were all like fawning over him and they knew what to say and, oh, I love you and, I'll do anything for you and all that kind of stuff. So I had sort of made an assumption that was the case for everybody. But you're right. It is not the case for everybody.
I'm not sure it's the case for Kira either.
Well, what do you mean?
Like, she said something about how he probably thinks he's too good for us. That's what people from rich areas are like, as if she's not from a rich area herself and is used to people being sort of snobs. And that doesn't sound like a person who grew up with like the privilege of being tutored on everything.
Well, she wasn't like necessarily tutored in the way that like Tarisai was, but like, people were coming in and training her. But Kira does sound like, to me, she understood where her future was going. Like, it wasn't a surprise to her that she was going to be a candidate.
Gotcha.
Where Sanji, it does seem like it was kind of a surprise. Like, oh, shit, I'm a candidate? His family didn't prepare him for that. He didn't have anybody teaching him or anything like that. Huh.
So most of the candidates still feared the prince's bear. He rarely talked to anyone except Dayo, whom he shadowed like a grim archangel. But when the others had gone to sleep, I would hear the gender partition screen shift aside, and he comes, takes the memories. She takes the memories, and she can help him sleep. Sometimes brighter memories stole through. I saw visions of a young, happier Sanjeet, dancing in time with the bells on his Amma's feet, balancing with his Amma on the back of an elephant as it lumbered through the dusty Dermish streets. And then he asks, "Can you give me memories?" Yeah, I did. I showed him the orchard at Bikina House, boughs red with sun-kissed mangoes. I showed him my overbearing tutors, hovering as I solved puzzles. I showed him the elephants outside my Bikina House window, bush sprites teasing their large, silly ears. I showed him Wu-In and Kathleen, bickering over my head as we crossed the deserts and mountains into Oluwan. I did not show him Erus or mothers or wishes.
Yeah.
I'm going to run out of memories to show you. Then I guess we'll have to make more, Sunshine Girl. So
I love that she didn't even know she could do that.
Yeah, that the question when he brings it up, she thinks what he's asking is, can you make up false memories and like put them in somebody's head?
Yeah.
And she's like,
She's
I
like,
would never do
never.
that. And he's like, no, that's not what I mean at all.
Sidebar, I hope that eventually she does that. But I feel like that would be really useful. But for right now, she is just like shocked and offended that he would just such a thing.
So there's a little break in the chapter, and then we jump ahead a bit, and he gets a message, and they recommend that he read it in private, but we don't see him again in this section. And they're like, what do you think
devastated.
happened?
I'm really, really afraid that his Amma has died. I don't know if that's the kind of news that would make it to him as a candidate. I don't really, the logistics of it. Like as candidates, they're like a specialized sort of group of society. I don't know how that works. But the little bit I know about the bear, I mean, I guess it could be his dad would die, and that would be like sort of a cause for celebration. But my fear is that his Amma has died. And that's what this news is. And I'm really afraid for him.
The idea of like, maybe this guy died and that's a cause for celebration. Hey, everybody, how about y'all live your lives so that your death is not a cause for celebration? Just a recommendation from your old Auntie Tosh over here.
Oof.
So then we get the myth here. Queen Earth and King Water are lovers. Their children are many, trees, rivers, creatures that creep and swim. They are weak and dumb of speech, but are Earth and Water lonely? Tell me. No, we chorused around the room. They have a friend. Ah, the priest continued. The pelican glides from star to star, shaking stories from its wings. Woom, woom. To fill 1,000 worlds. The pelican is older than the earth and water, older even than the sun. It does not always have wings and a bill. Sometimes it has hooves and a tail, or paws and a mane, or no body at all. Who is the pelican? Am the storyteller. Yes, am. Called was. Called will be. Watch now, the pelican moves through time like wind, with as many names as it has feathers. What name shall you call it? Choose wisely, for names have power. And this is like an origin story of humankind. And the children of the earth and fire multiply throughout the realm. Volcanoes, dragons, rubies, and mountains of coal. Water realizes the children are not his own. He abandons earth in anger. And earth begins to die. Who shall come to aid her? And the pelican pierces his own breast, and his blood fills the parched places. And this is what creates humankind.
Yeah. The first living people. And water reconciles with earth, promising to raise her children as his own. Are the children strong? Yes, and clever. But fire is jealous.
And he curses them with 13 ways to die. poison, contagion, gluttony, burning, drowning, suffocation, bleeding, beast mauling, which I really would think would be bleeding.
No, that's a whole different thing, girl.
But,
you're getting torn apart, torn asunder.
Disaster, organ death, witches' hexes, battery, old age. And
this is when we find out that the Raybearers are blessed with a one immunity when they're born. And that, again, the 11 councils make 12 immunities. And the only one they don't have is old age, if they're lucky enough.
Yeah.
They just die of old age. Unless, of course, a council member turns and is a traitor, which then they could kill him.
Oh, here it is. Carnal relations are prohibited except with the future emperor. So it's straight up. Yeah.
You can't anybody except the emperor.
Yeah.
You can fuck him, but that's
which I'm real curious if that's like gay sex is okay. Not sure about that, but I feel like
it's
no.
Not. I feel like no.
So basically, if you're a dude, you are shit out of luck. You are just never having sex.
Nope.
That sucks. That does not feel sustainable. Just saying.
There has got to be a whole bunch of side joints for everybody. I honest to God, there's got to be, because this unsustainable is the right phrase.
Mm-hmm.
This is no way to build a council. Your council has to have an outlet. They deserve comfort and joy and release and sexual pleasure. You can't just designate them to a life of fucking, what are they, the Pope?
Right.
Like, what is happening here?
What are they, the Pope?
Here are the duties of the future emperor. His Highness is not permitted to marry. Instead, His Highness must anoint and protect a trusted council through which he shall serve the empire. As the high priest leered over the female candidates, for they will birth all future Raybearers. It's that leered that is rattling around in my brain. I didn't like it. I don't care for it.
The priest made us sound more like a harem than a sacred council.
Yeah.
So this is when she asks, what happens when there's an empress? And he's like, I told you he doesn't get married. And she's like, no. When the Raybearer is a girl. The priest inhaled, summoning patience, then smiled. And I really
laughed
loved
in her
that.
face.
That moment of just him like needing to take a moment to not bite her fucking head off. There are no female Raybearers, child. Am has always chosen a man. That does not mean, of course, that female council members have no value. After all, you might bear a Raybearer. He winked
at me.
The empire would be forever in your debt. This motherfucker.
Fuck this dude. And that's it. That's the whole book, right? Going forward, the whole book is going to be about that right there, right? Because it's just not right. I don't have anything else to say.
It ain't right.
But I don't like it. Like a whole, like, no. You can't ever have one woman. They all have, no. This is some nonsense. This is some,
listen,
the man
it's
stole
not up
fire
to them.
from the gods.
It's Am choosing only men. Blame Am the storyteller.
I do every day of my life.
That's fair.
I mean, I've been calling them something different. But
it's a really interesting name to choose, Am, and I really appreciate it being like pointed out, because I was like, Am, like the verb am, and basically, yeah, Am is and was and shall be, like that is exactly what it is. But it's just a like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Like the name of the god means to exist.
I love that.
Which is wild, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I am all that is I am.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I wish I had paid more attention in Vacation Bible studies. I didn't.
Wait, why?
Because I feel like this is very on brand for a lot of Christianity. That's sort of like the I am all that is, and
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but it feels very familiar, you know? Like the idea of God as all is. I am the thing. I'm all that is. So when
I'm pretty sure that is a direct quote.
I think it is.
And I remember being kind of like, as a kid, you know, I didn't really buy a lot of the biblical stuff that I was being taught when I went with my dad to church. But there was a line that I remember they read, and I can't like recall exactly how it goes, but it was something like, and in the past, I am. And it was, instead of I was, it was talking about the past, but God was saying I am in the present. Like, because it doesn't matter. There's
no tense.
And
like,
I remember just that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah. There is no like future, past, or whatever tense when it comes to I am, I exist, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was like the story that they tell in these chapters about the pelican as well, when they're doing the whole like mythology about the earth and the fire and everything. And the pelican is what comes through and what pierces his heart, I think. And the blood is what like
so he's sacrifices himself to create humankind.
Which listen, it's we have that, there's that too, right?
Yeah.
You know, someone that I love and I put up with on the social medias, just like they put up with me because they don't agree with my shit either, though I'm right and they're wrong. Put up a whole long post about looking for salvation. You know,
take your hand off your mouth. I'm trying to signal you, but you're just staring at me. Like, I just have to say the words, I guess.
I saw you, and I was like, I'm just going to ignore her. But yeah, they put up this whole post about how salvation is available to everybody, and all you have to do is just ask for forgiveness. And they were like 100% earnest in this. And the post, it bummed me out because as I was reading it, it was really affirming. It was written in such a way that it was like, it doesn't matter what mistakes you've made. It doesn't matter what you've done wrong, what you didn't get to fix. It doesn't matter all the stupid choices you've made. You know, you deserve salvation. And then it was like, because he's died already for your sins and right? But like,
like, no offense to anybody who believes this, but for me that just falls so flat.
At all.
Like,
but the reading of it for me was really like a roller coaster ride, because at the beginning it felt very, very affirming. Just like, you know, you exist and that is enough. And you don't have to like suffer for your mistakes and spend your whole life and your afterlife paying for your mistakes. You know? Yeah. But the tagline was, oh, well, because he's already died for your sins, so all you have to do is ask him for his forgiveness. It was like so close to make me feel better, but then not.
This is when I just like, I don't get it, man. I just don't, and I just have to accept that. But like the whole concept of like, he died for your sins. There's just so much around that I'm like, this doesn't work though. Like, why? It was just, I keep thinking about that meme where it's Jesus knocking on the door. Let me in. Why? So I can save you. From what? From what I'm going to do to you if you don't let me in. Like, it's just a weird feedback loop that I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense, kiddos. I don't know what to say.
I'll tell you what, reading it, there was like a part of my body that was like, if I could just believe this, I'd probably be so much happier. Yep. I'd probably be so much happier. And no shade to people who do have faith. Have it. Have a happy life. Be comforted in that. I love that for you. But I wish I could have it.
It's really, for me, the belief that everybody eventually, like, is going to get what they deserve. And I mean that in the positive and negative ways. And I want to believe that so bad. Because I see no evidence of that whatsoever on this planet of Earth.
People just doing whatever the fuck they want to do all day, every day, and getting like no comeuppance whatsoever.
Did you see that Roger Stone fucking thing that I posted?
I saw. Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah. You shared a memory, right? Of the way he got off, and like it wasn't even real bail. It was just like, I promise I won't do anything shitty.
That was it was like the promise of bail, and then I updated it with the paragraphs about how he was pardoned and he never spent a day in jail.
Yep.
Like, he was pardoned before he was taken into custody. Like, just truly unbelievable.
Meanwhile, like, never mind. I'm not gonna do it. But we know Khalif Browder, fucking suspicion of stealing a backpack, maybe.
Yep.
Like 3 fucking years in Rikers or whatever the fuck it was, because he couldn't get bail. But okay, it's fine. It's a whole different podcast.
But anyway, so yeah, that's how the chapter ends. Is him just being like, wink, you ladies might squeeze out a Raybearer.
And wouldn't that be great for you? If you're lucky.
So, do you have any predictions for the next chapters?
I don't, but I can't wait to read. It was so hard to stop tonight. I'm going to read them tomorrow, because I don't have the circle to watch, so I'm going to read them tomorrow.
Fair. Right.
Oh, what are we doing?
What?
Chapters wise.
Oh, for the next one? Mm-hmm. Hold on, let me just take a look, because I already have it down here. 8 and 9, just 2 chapters next time.
Oh, just 2 chapters.
Well, they're longer chapters.
All right.
So it's like, But trust me, it's better this way, because if I added another chapter, we wouldn't have time to talk about everything. And you'd be really frustrated.
All right. I will trust you then, as I always do.
It's hard for me. Like, I had this with Cradle, where I really wanted to cover 50 pages, and we had to cut it back to like 35, 40 pages, because I was not getting through the material. It was like, I'm alone speaking for an hour nonstop and still tangenting and still not getting through the material.
How do you
it's
tangent alone?
Girl, have you met me? What do you mean? Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it'll sometimes be me, but sometimes also somebody will mention something in the chat. The most recent episode of was it One Piece? Somebody mentioned something, or maybe it was Mage Errant. Somebody mentioned something about Rise of Skywalker. And I have very strong feelings about that absolute shit pile of a movie. And I was gone for like 5 full minutes.
I don't even remember which one that was.
It was the final in the new trilogy. The one where they just like were the most giant cowards and walked back anything interesting. And it was fucking pathetic. And I'm still so mad about it, you guys. I'm so angry. Ugh. It's at the point now where I'm like, if you like that movie, I think you're a bad person. Look, we can all like what we like, but then there's things that have baggage attached, and that's one, and I just think you're a bad person. I'm sorry, I just do. What are you going to do? Don't come at me. Let me come at you, but do not come at me. All right. Well, I want to say hi to new patrons real quick, because there might be some that are here because of Raybearer, so... Hey! All right. This week, we have got Leah Denise Potts,
Yay!
Shane Conley,
Yay!
Aaron Christensen,
Yay!
Kristen Y,
Yay!
and NBA Sarah.
Yay! Welcome.
Thank you so much for becoming patrons. We love you so much. I appreciate you all supporting the show. Hope that y'all are enjoying the first, you get early and ad-free episodes, so you don't have to fast forward or worry about ads at all. And then also you get the Sookie Stackhouse books, which I'm covering with Miles, and those have been super fun. And I finally got the fucking postcards in the mail that were late.
Oh, hooray!
So I'm going to be working on those tomorrow, but apologies everybody on that being so late. I am going to try and figure out like a way to make it up to y'all, but it was out of my hands. And yeah, I just really, everybody, thank you so much. Like, the support, it has been a rough year for a lot of us. Everything is tight. I totally get it. And when people drop their pledges, like, no hard feelings at all. I understand how that is. But it has really meant a lot that I've lost some income, but it hasn't been hugely dramatic. I have managed to like still make it every month. And I just am constantly shocked when I step back and I'm like, oh, I do this full time. It's wild. It's a weird thing. So thank you all for that. And also thank you for doing that so that I can also send money to RoShawn, which is really nice because
I really appreciate it.
a big part of why I've always wanted to grow is so that I could pay my co-hosts, because that is something that means a lot to me. So it's really nice to be able to do that. And I was able to like pay Sid for this logo for this show. And yeah, it's just really nice to be able to pay people. Let me tell you, there was something I was like watching the other day where somebody said, "Oh, you don't have that many rich clients," and he said, "I don't want rich clients. I want people who actually pay their bill." Oh, and I was like, "Oh, word!" Like that doesn't occur to me, but like, it's just weird to think about because like I'm so conscious of this is people's time and effort. I want them to be compensated in some way, and imagine just not feeling that. What is that like?
We'll talk about that. I got a whole work thing to tell you about.
Oh boy!
Before we record a Song of Ice and Fire tomorrow.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna strap in. You guys, you don't even know, y'all, how long our conversations are before Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, let's see, and it is a lot.
I should start taking notes and incorporate these into like my cozy mysteries, but in like a different context, so it's unrecognizable.
I don't know how they would even make it into your cozy because there was nothing cozy about this.
That's the thing, right? Like I have to figure out a way to make the corporate thing work in like a small town environment.
They're just villains. Maybe they'll just come in and like raise the town and knock down your favorite tea spot, you know, to build like condos or something, and they'll just be the villains.
Listen, the Airbnb is going to be a villain in this one, so that could work. That's not out of the question. I asked Owen, I was like, what's a like weird character that I can just include? Like, just give me off the top of your head. And he was like, what about the person who runs like the neighborhood watch? Except they are not nosy at all. They don't care. And everybody in the neighborhood watch is super frustrated because they are nosy and they want sanctions like to go do shit. And that person is like, I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt. And I was like, really that's amazing. I love it. So that's definitely going to be happening. Somebody who's just like too goddamn lazy for it.
Yeah. I have like really super wealthy people suing other super wealthy people for like, you can't use my ID anymore because I don't work there. Take it down.
Wait, what? What are you talking? You have... Like, you mean at work?
At work, yeah. Oh. Like, you know, like some of the promotional material, you know, that we use.
Oh.
And now that certain people are no longer involved, they're like, you can't use it on your website. Take it down. And we're being sued.
Yay! I love this for you.
Rich people suing other rich people. It's really gross.
This is why I enjoy listening to Scam Goddess. As long as people scam up, I want to listen to that all day. It's like, oh yeah, he screwed somebody who paid $700,000 for a like 2x2 canvas print of something, and I'm just like, I don't care. Good, take their money. Bye bye. Exactly. These people sail into the sunset and we're never seen again, and I'm like, good for them. Yes, that's the way to live. Anyway, redistribution of wealth. Love you guys. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.